A curious encounter. In the bustling heart of New York City, amidst the towering skyscrapers and throngs of humans going about their daily lives, an invisible observer watched with rapt attention. Zafir, a young alien anthropologist from the distant planet Alpha Centauri, had been tasked with studying the peculiar and fascinating ways of Earth's dominant species. For months, Zafir had been meticulously documenting human behavior, their complex social structures, and their perplexing emotional responses. But there was one aspect of human interaction that continued to elude his understanding: the intimate bond between two individuals known as a romantic relationship. As Zafir hovered unseen above a picturesque park, his advanced sensory equipment focused on a young couple seated on a bench below. The man, Liam, had his arm draped affectionately around the woman, Ava. They were engaged in an animated conversation, their faces alight with joy and laughter. Zafir marveled at the ease with which the couple expressed their feelings for one another. Among his own people, the Alphans, such displays of emotion were considered primitive and unnecessary. Alphan society valued logic, efficiency, and the pursuit of knowledge above all else. Concepts like love, desire, and pleasure were seen as distractions from their ultimate goal of intellectual enlightenment. But as Zafir watched Liam gently brush a stray lock of hair from Ava's face, he couldn't help but feel a strange stirring within himself. There was a tenderness in the gesture, a depth of connection that transcended mere physical contact. It was as if the couple shared a bond that defied the cold, hard logic of Zafir's own world. Intrigued, Zafir adjusted his cloaking device and moved closer to the pair, eager to learn more about this mysterious human phenomenon. He activated his translators, allowing him to understand their conversation. "I can't believe it's been a year since our first date," Ava was saying, her eyes sparkling with happiness. "Sometimes it feels like I've known you my whole life." Liam smiled, pulling her closer. "I know exactly what you mean. Being with you just feels right, like it was always meant to be." Zafir tilted his head, perplexed by their words. How could two individuals who had only known each other for a short time feel such a profound sense of connection? What was the evolutionary purpose of these intense emotional attachments? As he pondered these questions, a sudden voice crackled through his communication device, startling him out of his reverie. "Zafir, report." It was Commander Orion, his superior officer back on the Alphan mothership. "What is your status?" Zafir hesitated, glancing back at Liam and Ava. They were now locked in a tender embrace, their lips meeting in a passionate kiss. The sight sent a strange shiver down Zafir's spine, a feeling he couldn't quite identify. I am continuing my observations of the human subjects," Zafir replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "Their behavior continues to be perplexing." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Zafir, we've talked about this," Orion said, his tone stern. "Your mission is to gather data, not to try and understand these creatures. They are volatile, unpredictable. It's best to keep your distance." Zafir frowned, a flicker of defiance rising within him. "But, Commander, there is so much we could learn from them. Their capacity for emotional connection, for empathy and love, it is unlike anything we have encountered before." "Enough," Orion snapped. "You are not to engage with the humans under any circumstances. Observe, document, and report back. That is all. Do you understand?" Zafir sighed, his curiosity warring with his ingrained obedience to authority. "Yes, Commander. I understand." As the communication link went silent, Zafir turned his attention back to Liam and Ava. They were strolling hand in hand through the park, blissfully unaware of the alien observer who had taken such a keen interest in their lives. Zafir knew he should heed his commander's warnings and maintain a safe distance, but something deep within him, a spark of rebelliousness he had never felt before, urged him to keep watching, to keep learning. For in the tender moments shared between this human couple, Zafir sensed a glimmer of something profound and transformative. Something that, if truly understood, could change the course of his people's rigid, emotionless existence forever. With renewed determination, Zafir activated his recording devices and set off after Liam and Ava, ready to unravel the mysteries of the human heart. Little did he know that his quest for understanding would soon lead him down a path far more dangerous and exhilarating than he could have ever imagined. A path that would challenge everything he thought he knew about his own world and his place within it. As Liam and Ava disappeared around a bend in the trail, Zafir quickened his pace, his mind already racing with questions and possibilities. The adventure was only just beginning, bridging the divide. Liam and Ava strolled through the winding paths of Central Park, blissfully lost in conversation. However, their tranquil moment was suddenly interrupted by a strange shimmering in the air beside them. Startled, they watched as the form of Zafir materialized, his cloaking device malfunctioning. Zafir froze, realizing his cover had been blown. He expected the humans to react with fear or aggression, but instead they simply stared at him with wide, curious eyes. "What? Who are you?" Liam asked, instinctively stepping in front of Ava. Zafir hesitated, his mind racing. He knew he should flee, to minimize any contamination of the human subjects. But something held him back, a deep yearning to connect, to understand. "I am Zafir," he said slowly, raising his hands in a gesture of peace. "I come from a planet far from here. I mean you no harm." Ava stepped forward, her fear giving way to fascination. "You've been watching us, haven't you?" "I felt a presence, something just out of sight." Zafir nodded, impressed by her perceptiveness. "Yes, I am an anthropologist, studying your kind. Your ways are intriguing to me." Liam and Ava exchanged glances, a silent communication passing between them. Then, to Zafir's surprise, they smiled. "Well, if you want to learn about us, there's no better way than to talk to us directly," Liam said. "Why don't you walk with us? We can show you our world, and you can tell us about yours." Zafir hesitated, torn between his duty and his growing desire for connection. In the end, curiosity won out. He fell into step beside the couple, and they began to talk. Over the next few weeks, a tentative friendship blossomed between the trio. Liam and Ava showed Zafir the wonders of human culture, art, music, laughter, and love. They shared stories of their hopes, their dreams, and their struggles. In turn, Zafir told them of his own world, of the vast cities that spanned entire continents, of the advanced technologies that powered their civilization. But he also spoke of the emptiness at the core of Alphan society, the lack of true connection and emotion. As they explored the city together, Zafir found himself drawn ever deeper into the warmth and vibrancy of human life. He marveled at the depth of feeling between Liam and Ava, the way they seemed to draw strength and joy from each other's presence. Slowly, tentatively, Zafir began to experiment with emotions himself. He laughed at Liam's jokes, felt a stirring of wonder at Ava's paintings. For the first time in his life, he began to question the rigid strictures of Alphan society. But even as he reveled in this newfound sense of connection, a nagging guilt tugged at Zafir's conscience. He knew he was breaking every rule of his mission, risking contamination of the very subjects he was meant to study. And deep down, he knew that his time with Liam and Ava could not last forever. Sooner or later, his people would come for him, and he would have to choose between his duty and his heart. As the sun set over the city skyline, Zafir walked with Liam and Ava through the bustling streets of Manhattan. For now, at least, he pushed his worries aside, losing himself in the simple joy of their company and the endless wonders of the human world. Dangerous knowledge. Commander Orion paced the sleek, metallic confines of the Alphan mothership, his brow furrowed with concern. On the view screen before him, a series of images flashed by. Surveillance footage of Zafir walking with the human couple, laughing and talking as if they were old friends. "This is unacceptable," Orion muttered, his voice tight with anger. "Zafir has violated every protocol, risked exposure of our mission. He must be dealt with." Beside him, the ship's science officer, a tall, slender elfin named Lyra, frowned at the screen. Perhaps we should try to understand his motivations, she suggested cautiously. These humans seem to have had a profound effect on him. Maybe there is something we can learn from. Enough, Orion snapped, silencing her with a glare. The elfin way is clear. Emotion is weakness, a distraction from the pursuit of knowledge. Zaphir's fascination with these creatures threatens the very foundation of our society. He turned to the communications officer. Send a message to the High Council. Inform them of Zaphir's transgressions and request permission to initiate retrieval and readjustment protocols. The officer nodded, his fingers already flying over the console. On the planet's surface, Zaphir sat with Liam and Ava in a cozy cafe, oblivious to the storm gathering above. I still can't believe how similar our worlds are in some ways, Liam was saying, cradling a steaming mug of coffee. The same basic needs, the same quest for understanding. Zaphir nodded, his own hands wrapped around a cup of tea. And yet, so different in others. Your capacity for emotion, for connection, it is unlike anything I have ever known. Ava reached out, placing a hand over Zaphir's. But you do feel, Zaphir. I've seen it. The way you light up when you hear a new song, or the way your eyes soften when you watch the sunset. You have a heart, just like us. Zaphir felt a warmth spreading through his chest, a feeling he was starting to recognize as affection. I don't know what to say. My people, they would not understand. They would see this as a weakness. Just then, a shimmering portal opened up in the middle of the cafe. Patrons screamed and scattered as a trio of armed elfin soldiers stepped through, their faces grim. Zaphir, by order of the High Council, you are to return with us immediately. The lead soldier barked. Your actions have brought shame upon our people. Liam and Ava leaped to their feet, moving instinctively to shield their friend. You can't take him, Liam said, his voice trembling with anger and fear. He's done nothing wrong. The soldier raised his weapon, aiming it at the human's chest. Step aside, earth creature. This does not concern you. But Ava did not move. She looked the soldier dead in the eye, her voice calm and clear. It concerns all of us. Zaphir is our friend, and we won't let you hurt him. For a long, tense moment, the two sides stared each other down. Then, to everyone's surprise, one of the other soldiers lowered his weapon. She's right, he said softly. Look at them. The way they stand together, the way they protect each other. Is this not the very essence of what we seek to understand? The lead soldier hesitated, his resolve wavering. Zaphir stepped forward, placing a hand on his kinsman's shoulder. Brother, I know I have broken our laws, but I have learned so much, felt so much. There is wisdom here, a strength we have never known. Please, let me show you. For a heartbeat, the soldier seemed to consider. Then, with a sigh, he shook his head. The council has spoken. I have my orders. Come quietly, Zaphir, and your punishment may yet be lenient. With a heavy heart, Zaphir turned to Liam and Ava. I'm sorry, he whispered, tears glimmering in his eyes. I never meant to bring you pain, but I will never forget what you have taught me. As the soldiers led him away, Zaphir looked back one last time. Liam and Ava stood hand in hand, their faces etched with sorrow and determination. He knew, then, that his journey was far from over, that the seeds of change had been planted, and nothing, not even the full might of the Elfin Council, could stop them from growing. For in the hearts of these two remarkable humans, Zaphir had found something worth fighting for, something that would light the way forward, no matter how dark the path ahead might seem. With a final, resolute nod, Zaphir stepped through the portal, ready to face whatever trials lay ahead. The battle for the soul of his people had only just begun. The power of human connection. In the sterile, echoing chambers of the Elfin High Council, Zaphir stood before a semicircle of stern-faced elders. Commander Orion paced behind them, his expression a mask of barely contained outrage. Zafir, you stand accused of violating the most sacred laws of our people, the chief counselor intoned, her voice cold and implacable. You have fraternized with the humans, allowed yourself to be contaminated by their base emotions. What do you have to say for yourself? Zafir took a deep breath, gathering his courage. Counselors, I know I have broken our laws, but I have also learned a great truth. The humans, for all their flaws, possess a strength we have long forgotten. A strength that comes from their bonds, their ability to connect with each other on the deepest of levels. Nonsense, Oran spat. Their emotions make them weak, unpredictable. They are a danger to themselves and to us. But Zafir pressed on. No, Commander. It is we who are weak. In our pursuit of pure logic, we have cut ourselves off from the very things that make life worth living. Compassion, empathy, love. These are not weaknesses. They are the source of true power. The council members shifted uneasily, glancing at each other with uncertain eyes. Your words border on heresy, the chief counselor said, but there was a hint of doubt in her voice. The Alphan Way has served us well for generations. Suddenly, the doors to the chamber burst open. Liam and Ava strode in, flanked by a handful of Alphan soldiers who had been swayed by Zafir's words. If the Alphan Way is so perfect, why are your own people turning against you? Liam demanded, his voice ringing with conviction. Ava stepped forward, her eyes blazing. We come to you not as enemies, but as friends. Zafir has shown us the wonders of your world, just as we have shown him the beauty of ours. Imagine what we could achieve together if we learned to understand each other. The council erupted into chaos, voices raised in anger and confusion. But above the din, a single voice rang out, the voice of the soldier who had first lowered his weapon in the cafe. They are right, he said, stepping forward to stand beside Zafir. I have seen the power of their bond, the strength of their convictions. We have much to learn from these humans. One by one, other soldiers began to step forward, joining the growing circle around Zafir and his friends. The chief counselor raised her hands, calling for silence. It seems we have much to discuss, she said, her voice thoughtful. Perhaps it is time for the Alphan Way to evolve. Zafir felt a rush of hope, a sense of destiny fulfilled. He looked to Liam and Ava, saw the pride and love shining in their eyes. Together, they had started something great, a bridge between two worlds that had been separate for far too long. There would be challenges ahead, obstacles to overcome. But with the power of human connection guiding them, Zafir knew that anything was possible. The future stretched before them, bright and full of promise, and he could not wait to see what wonders it would bring. A new path forward. In the years that followed, a great change swept through Alphan society. Guided by Zafir's wisdom and the unwavering support of his human friends, the once rigid civilization began to open its heart to the power of emotion and connection. It was not an easy transition. Many clung to the old ways, fearful of the unknown. But as more and more Alphans began to experience the joys of laughter, the warmth of friendship, and the depth of love, a new way of life began to take root. Zafir became a bridge between the two worlds, a symbol of the potential for understanding and unity. He worked tirelessly to foster communication and empathy, leading delegations of Alphans to Earth and hosting human visitors on his homeworld. Under his guidance, the Alphans began to rediscover the lost arts of their ancestors: music, dance, poetry, all the creative expressions that had been stifled in the pursuit of pure logic. Liam and Ava were always at his side, their bond a shining example of the power of human connection. They taught classes, shared stories, and opened their hearts to any Alphan who wished to learn. And as the years turned to decades, a new generation arose. A generation of Alphans who had grown up knowing the warmth of a hug, the joy of a shared laugh, and the comfort of a shoulder to cry on. They were a generation unafraid of emotion, unshackled by the rigid dictates of the past, and they looked to Zafir, Liam, and Ava as the pioneers who had made it all possible. One evening, as the three friends sat watching the sunset over the Alphan capital, Liam turned to Zephyr with a smile. "Do you remember that day in the park when you first revealed yourself to us?" he asked. "Did you ever imagine it would lead to all this?" Zephyr shook his head, a wistful smile playing on his lips. "I had no idea what I was getting into. I thought I was just observing, just gathering data. But you too, you showed me something I didn't even know I was missing." Ava leaned her head on Zephyr's shoulder. "And you showed us the depths of our own strength, the power of reaching out to someone different from ourselves. We've all learned so much." They fell silent, each lost in their own memories of the journey that had brought them to this moment. Then Zephyr spoke, his voice soft but filled with conviction. "There will always be more to learn, more bridges to build. But I know that as long as we hold on to the lessons we've learned, as long as we keep our hearts open, there's nothing we can't achieve." Liam and Ava nodded, their eyes shining with the same hope and determination. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, bathing the world in a warm golden glow, the three friends looked to the future, a future of endless possibilities, of unity and understanding between all beings, a future where the power of human connection would guide the way, lighting a path forward for all who dared to follow. And at the center of it all, a bond that had changed the course of two civilizations, a bond of friendship, of love, and of the unshakable belief that in the end, it is our hearts that make us truly strong. Zephyr, Liam, and Ava, three pioneers, three dreamers, three friends. Together, they had started a revolution, and together, they would see it through to the end. For in a universe of infinite wonders, they had found the greatest wonder of all, each other, and that was a bond that would never be broken.